We got a lot going on in baseball. A wild NL West. The race has gotten really close. A really active FAAB period across fantasy leagues, and a whole lot more. We got 7 weeks left in the season. It's time to bear down. All coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Happy Sunday night, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, sponsored by DraftKings Pick 6. We appreciate them for that. Also, if you could please rate and review the podcast, it helps out a lot. Also, I am Scott Jenstad, joined as always on Sunday nights by Jeff Erickson. Jeff, how's everything in your world this Sunday evening, August 11th?
Doing well. Happy to be talking ball. It's that busy time of year. I took a little time this past week. Vacation's over. Let's get at it.
Is there another sport going on or something that's coming up soon?
Yeah, something about that. Something oblong. I don't know. Yeah.
By the way, preseason football is the dead worst, so it's awful.
The Hall of Fame game is the nut low. It's such a bad game. It is so horrible.
I tried to watch the 49ers game for like 5 minutes. I was like, I just can't do this to myself.
They didn't play anybody.
It was that bad. It was so bad. So, but let's get into baseball, Jeff. It's a fun time. There's a lot of races. We got a lot of good stuff going on. The NL West, especially. I feel like the Padres and Diamondbacks pretty much never lose, and the Padres are losing every game and then score in the 9th or the 10th to win every game. They tied a franchise record with 4 straight wins where they won in their final at bat. They did lose today on a controversial call in left field with a Ha-Sung Kim home run turned to a double, but they're right there. The Padres and Diamondbacks are pushing the Dodgers. I know the Dodgers swept the Pirates this weekend, but pushing them. The interesting thing is that San Diego and Arizona are now 3.5 and 4 up in the wild card. We're looking at 3 teams that are really, really good in the NL West right now.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Remember, for about 4 months of the season, we were talking how muddled the NL picture was.
Yep.
Separation has occurred. And we got these 2 NL West teams are looking great. Now, things can happen, things can change. I got to say, I'm impressed with the Padres turnaround and their ability to win these close and late games. They were just historically awful. That correction has happened, and to the other side, it swung, not just correction, but swung to the other side of the pendulum where they're great at that. I think they hit 301 in close and late. Jackson Merrill alone is like
unbelievable,
incredible.
Yeah.
4 homers, game tying or go ahead homers in the 8th inning or later in the last 12 days.
It's a crazy stat. Like, guys do that in a year, and it's like a really special season.
Yeah,
and he's done that over there. I mean, I had Jackson Merrill later on to talk about. You brought him up. I mean, he's had an awesome rookie season. Hit 291, 17 home runs, 13 stolen bases, 64 RBI. This is someone that's going to be flying up draft boards next year. He's going to be really popular.
Anybody named Jackson's going to fly.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, but it's great. I used him on the NFFC or the NFBC, Friday night thing. And that was, 10th inning homers are the bread of life there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It was beautiful. I got 3rd though. Twice now I've come up short of winning a main entry. I've gotten 2nd and 3rd so far, but
when you're playing one night, those extra at bats are just absolute gold.
Beautiful. I spent $8,100 on Ellie and got 0 for him. Otherwise, I think I could have won if I just invested that, on anybody basically. But as Uncle Ted points out, going back to the Padres, they're doing this without Tatis.
Yep.
They're doing this without Musgrove. They're doing this without Yu Darvish.
Yep.
That's pretty significant. I mean, they did. Say what you will about like the GM trying to save his job and all that. If you're going to try to save your job by trying to win, I'm okay with that. Trying to win's a good thing, right? And some surgical strikes. I mean, getting those relievers has been money. Now they need to get those relievers some rest at some point in time. Kevin Acee of the San Diego Union Tribune does a Padres Daily newsletter, and he was talking how all these key relievers have basically pitched 3 out of the last 4 games. They need a blowout in there at some point in time.
Do you know that the Diamondbacks have more than 30 more runs scored than any team in the National League and have more runs scored than any team in Major League Baseball right now?
I know it because I had Christopher Sanchez going for me today, and oofda. I got the win against the Dodgers. Like, I was just going to say, one of the things I was planning on saying was like, which team do you not want to face right now the most? It's not the Dodgers. It's either the Padres or the Diamondbacks. And Padres on the road, maybe in Petco, you can sneak it in a little bit there. Perversely, but man, if you have a left-handed starter against the Diamondbacks, just abandon all hope, ye who enter here. I mean, it's maybe if you get a righty going against them, it's okay, but a lefty, yikes.
Yeah, I mean, Corbin Carroll's starting to hit a little bit. Jake McCarthy had a huge weekend. I mean, they just are mashing. We were talking about the NL West, and I looked it up. I could not believe they have 10 more runs than the Yankees. They have more runs than Baltimore. I feel like it's all in the last couple of months too. They were just kind of
Yeah.
in the middle of the road for a while, and they have just they score runs every single night. It is wild. They're a fun team to watch right now, and obviously one that has experience. Making the run to the World Series last year. They're going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs, assuming they sneak in.
Yeah, and much like the Padres, they're doing it without Christian Walker right now.
Yep.
Which is just really incredible. Because Walker was their leader. He was their best hitter.
Yeah. He felt like he saved them the first couple of months. There were some games where he was the only guy getting hits, especially when they play in Dodger Stadium, as he owns that place. But they are fun. I mean, the Brewers and Phillies have both opened up pretty big leads in the other two divisions. The Phillies lead by 7.5. So do the Brewers. Interesting question though in the NL West, or NL, I wanted to ask you. You and I talked about a month ago probably about this and how muddled it was, except for the one wild card spot, which is kind of a sure thing in the Braves. No such thing anymore. The Braves are now a half game ahead of the Mets, a game and a half ahead of the Cardinals, a game and a half ahead of the Giants, who are playing pretty good baseball right now too. 3 ahead of the Cubs, 4.5 of the Reds, 5 of the Pirates. It's still muddled, but it's
good that you mentioned the Reds. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I had to get that in. I was trying to figure out how far I could go down there until I got to the Reds, but I got there.
Yeah.
But it was muddled for 3 spots. It feels like it's muddled for 1 spot right now.
Yeah, it is. It is. The Braves broke a 6-game losing streak yesterday. And
then had a historical meltdown today.
Yeah, that was it's tough. Meltdowns happen in Coors Field. I'm less concerned about that, to be honest with you. But I mean, we talked about it. They were no sure thing to make it, and sure enough, here we are. You lop off the top of this team. That's what happens, right? Yeah. I mean, they've lost so many not just the volume of players, but just who it's been. You lose your ace, you lose your MVP, you lose your second starter for a small chunk of time. You lose your, Ozzie Albies, who has been a little below average this, at least his standard this year, and now he's out long term. You lose Michael Harris long term. Yep. It's brutal. And now, Reynaldo Lopez, great signing, out now.
Yep. Yeah, it's not just been the injuries; it's been the name of the injuries. I mean, like you said, ace and MVP. I mean, those are the top 2 picks in almost every draft. Like it's you're just talking elite guys, and for gigantic chunks of the season too. It's not like Acuna missed 2 months; he missed essentially the entire season. So did Strider. It's really tough. The Rockies were the 4th Major League Baseball team in the modern era to enter a game 30 games under 500. And then trailing by 6+ runs in the 8th inning and win a game. Only the 3rd time in the history of baseball. It was a pretty good one. Thanks to Opta Stats on Twitter for that one. Yeah. But it was a pretty wild comeback considering how bad the Rockies are. But you're right, it was Coors Field. But man, the Braves are a mess right now. I don't know who's going to end up winning that 3rd wild card slot. It's wide open. But the Braves are certainly struggling. They're 5 games over right now. Nobody would have predicted that at the start of the year.
Yeah, no kidding. One other note. So the Diamondbacks and the Padres have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break. Who has the 3rd best record?
Wow, that's a really good one. I'm going to go Houston?
Nope. It's a National League team. Maybe it's the 3rd best in the National League. Maybe I got that wrong, but
I thought Houston's been pretty hot.
At least it's 3rd. Maybe it's 3rd best National League team, but
the Cubs?
No.
Who is it?
San Francisco Giants.
There you go. They have been really hot. They've been playing well. I mean, that's crazy. All 3 teams behind the Dodgers playing really well.
Yeah, the NL West is just loaded. Even the Pace Eaters are playing better since the break. They're 5-5 in the last 10. I mean, yep. It's the Giants are playing well despite their closer getting sent down to the minors.
That's a crazy one. Like, I think that as we were talking close at the start of the year, it's like, maybe you like Duvall, maybe you don't like Duvall, but you figured he would keep the job and be good, if nothing else. He's been bad. I was surprised he went to AAA. I feel like there's something else maybe there. Like maybe he didn't love the fact that we're taking him out of the job or something.
Maybe he wasn't responding to coaching. I don't know.
Yeah, I was surprised. Usually you're like, let's give him some low leverage work in the 6th and 7th inning and get him right back. But that's Duvall in AAA. I think that someone tweeted me back that saying that we had talked about a month ago, like who was the lowest or who was the lowest ADP or the highest ADP, however you want to characterize it. They got actually sent down in the minors, and I forget who it was, but now it's Duvall that's taken over that. He was like a 6th, 7th round pick. To go to the minors is pretty tough.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I think it was Jordan Walker before that, and now it's Duvall.
Yeah, I had no idea he was back because I don't have any Duvall. I have. I had for 3 months, I think we were fine. I think it's since June he's really started to struggle. Yeah. But it's always been that profile of a guy that, doesn't have the tremendous control. If he loses the control, then all bets are off, and that's where we're at with him.
I have Doval in my auction league that I did in Vegas, but it's okay because I have Kyle Tucker carrying me there, so it's fine.
Oh God, hey, he's coming back any second now.
I love that he's doing straight line running, but not very rapidly. Like the updates have been insane. It's just like there's such weird bad updates. Like he's kind of doing, and he's doing.
We hope to see him before September. Yeah,
I know. And the quote they'll have like a quote about him doing something, and the quote will be like a month later. He's been out like 3 months now.
We hope to see him before the end of the millennium. But
it's been the weirdest. And he was playing really well. He was having a huge year before that too. It's just to go from that to nothing has just been, and you can't drop him because every time you see something, he's doing something. I wish I dropped him 2.5 months ago, but I never would have. But it's been, that's been tough.
Back to Doval real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Still top 10 in saves, 22 saves on the season, which says a lot about the position. You know who leads baseball in saves?
I assume it's Clase or Ryan Helsley, but I don't know which one.
It's Helsley. He's already got 37.
Yeah.
37. Pretty darn good.
Clase's got to be right there, right?
Yeah, 35 after today. He played with his food today. Loaded the bases, nobody out, and then converted the save after that.
Professional segue right there, because I was going to talk Guardians Twins next. That was a big moment. Clase loaded the bases tonight against the Twins. No outs. Got a strikeout from Willie Castro, then a double play by Trevor Larnach. If the Twins had won that game, they would have been 3. It would have been 3-4 over Cleveland and ended up splitting the series. They would have been 1.5 back. That was a 1.5 to 3.5 back. That was a really big ninth inning for both Cleveland and Minnesota.
It was, and especially because Minnesota swept the doubleheader on Friday. You're like, hang on to your butts time.
Yep.
And instead, it was no, we're fine, we're good, nothing's changed. I still think Minnesota's probably got better talent, but they just lost Joe Ryan. I mean, that's a big loss.
That's a big loss for them, and he's out. Yeah. It sounds like he's done for the year.
Yeah,
or at least until very, very late in the year.
Yeah, it's rough. It's absolutely really rough, and he was solid too. And meanwhile, Pablo Lopez, every time I use him, he blows up. Every time I don't use him in DFS, that's when he gets the 11 Ks. I'm like, like I used him. I think it was Tuesday night, the Tout Wars one that we do. And, I got a discounted rate. Great. And now he stinks again. The Cubs got to him, I think.
And there's been no way to time. It's just a matter of where he gives up the home runs that day or not. Because, I mean, the K- walk is still really good, but 4.74 ERA for where he got drafted is brutal. Yeah, losing Joe Ryan's huge, though. He's got a whip under 1. He's just a horse for the Twins. I mean, he's just so damn good. And I like him watching him pitch, too. And it's just that one sucked right there. I kind of like this Twins team. But since we're in the AL Central, real quick, we were talking about it right before we came on. Garrett Crochet, you mentioned you starting to see him getting dropped in some leagues. Do you think he's a drop?
In my main, yeah.
Yeah, I would say 12 or 15. It's tough because you had such a great 2.5 months, and now it's kind of a double whammy. He's been bad, but also doesn't throw 5 innings anymore, so you can't get wins. And the innings you do get are really bad. I just don't know. You kind of have that hope of what happened early in the year, but I'm afraid that A, it's bad, B, doesn't throw 5 innings, and C is going to get shut down anytime here. I think he's probably a drop.
I agree. I hate to see it, but if you're not getting, unless you get an opener in front of him, what are we doing here? Yeah. I mean, you're trying to get some strikeouts, and he hasn't been good lately, and he gets at Houston this week anyhow.
That was the thing, right? If you can't even use him this week, and he may get shut down at any point, like what do you I held on to him in a 15-teamer, but as we talked more and more, I probably just should have cut ties with him. Yeah. They really should have traded him. But yeah, I mean, obviously we don't know what offers were and all that, but he is maybe his stuff about not pitching the playoffs. He got an extension, was weighing in on teams, but
yeah, he has well. Yeah,
he hasn't thrown 5 innings since June 30th.
Yikes! Yeah, we're in August.
We're in August.
He won't pitch in September. I would say better a week too soon than a week too late.
I think you're like, if you use him, you're praying he goes exactly 5 innings and has a lead, and he obviously plays on the worst team in baseball. That's tough as it is, but you got to hope he's really efficient. Goes 5 is your only chance, and that's just really tough.
Yeah, it is.
Let's see a couple of guys I want to ask you about before we jump into FAAB and some news and notes. Xavier Edwards on the Marlins feels very John Birdie-ish right now, where if you're behind in steals, this guy that could win a league for you. He's hitting 370 with 15 stolen bases since July 1st. He's been huge and hitting for average, which his BABIP's 432, so you can't count him for that. But man, you get 15 steals, and I guess he had another one today, so 16 steals off the waiver wire. He has been a huge ad for teams that need steals. And steals are usually pretty bunched up. Getting 16 from a guy you don't expect is just massive. It's
really the formula. Bad team, copious amounts of playing time, high in the order, and he hits decently enough. It's not hitting tons of extra base hits, which means he's at stolen base opportunity. And it's just a team's like, go ahead. You got the green light. Go for it. Go. By all means, go. Get caught, no big deal. Just keep going. It's fine.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful. He came up on June 7th, didn't have a stolen base until he's up for like 3 days. Then he went back down, didn't have a stolen base till July 11th. So that's exactly a month, and he's got 16.
Yeah, it is John Birdie-esque. It is.
It is. John Birdie had that 2-month run 2 years ago that was just awesome. I had him on both teams. I do not have Xavier Edwards, so I've been enjoying this. But you're right, though. Bad team, leading off, gets 5 at-bats every game. Just a perfect formula for steals.
Yeah.
Sticking in the NL East, Luis Garcia Jr., I feel like is having the best quiet season in baseball right now. On the Nationals, nobody really pays attention. He's got 14 home runs and 19 stolen bases and hitting 293. Very, very quietly, been really good for fantasy teams.
Yeah, he has. And this is, I think we talked about him at one point earlier this year. And like, yeah, okay, sure. And then it was kind of quiet again. And the Nationals, I mean, they've kind of taken a turn for the worse. But, there he is. He's at 14-19. He's hitting 290. Yeah. I think that's the thing that kind of caught my eye is the batting average. Power speed combo. He's 24, Scott. Yeah. He's not like this 29-year-old that, he's finally getting some playing time. No, he's played a lot before, 122 games, 482 plate appearances last year. And B, he's not that old. And even like the last couple of years, it's not that far off. Like 785 OPS this year. 2 years ago, 703. Last year, 689. It's not like he's like a 900 OPS guy or anything like that. He's not a star, but he's in the hall of very useful.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good. He's got 58 RBI too. It's not like he's dead there. 44 runs. A 5-category guy right now, which is another guy that got picked up off waivers too. Him and Edwards have been huge ads.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me ask you this. I think he's like probably the third, fourth, second baseman right now in terms of fantasy value this year.
Seems like a pretty good ballpark right there. Yeah.
Where would you place him next year? Like Jordan Westbrook probably goes ahead of him, and Westbrook's hurt now, but I think he feels like more sustainable to me, although he doesn't run as much.
Yeah. Marte goes ahead of him.
Marte's got 30 homers, by the way.
Ketel
Marte's got 30 homers, and he's 81-81 also.
I'd have to go back and listen to our podcast about targets to see how many of the good ones there were, but I know Ketel Marte was our second base target, so that was that one's worked really well. Semien goes ahead of him. Altuve goes ahead of him.
Mookie Betts, obviously.
Will be second? Did he play enough second this year? He did. Yeah, he must have. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to play right field. By the way, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I kind of like that for him to just go back to doing that. But I mean, obviously,
he's only played 16 games at second.
Oh, you're right. It was 65 at short and 16 at second. He moved over pretty quick. So yeah, he will not be second eligible. So that moves Garcia up one. Andres Jimenez, Bryce Terang. I think he probably goes ahead of both those guys.
Terang's kind of slowed down, by the way.
He has. He's hitting like 170 since July 1st. Nico Horner right in that mix, maybe somewhere in that range, although he has more power than Horner. He's probably ahead of Jake Cronenworth, probably ahead of Bryson Stott. Albies goes ahead of him.
I saw Jimenez on the waiver wire in a 12-teamer this week.
Wow. If you need steals, that's he's got 17 of those. But yeah, Albies definitely goes ahead of him. I don't know. I think he goes ahead of Arise. He goes ahead of Glaber. He's probably like 5th or 6th right now.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
It's wild when you actually look at the names and try to figure out. And I'm just looking at second baseman, so I might not know every eligibility, but yeah, he probably slots in right about there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun when those guys break out. And like you said, 24, so kind of like a breakout you can believe in too. It's not like a 30-year-old guy where you're like, what are we getting here? It's like a kind of a freak career season. But 24, I mean, supported by some skills. I think he'll be a popular guy next year.
Yeah, I think so too.
Let's jump into next week. I think there's 7 weeks left of the season. I think I did the math right there. We've got a handful of teams with 7 games this week. The Rangers, Twins, Brewers, Braves, Dodgers, and Red Sox. If you have those guys, maybe a full go there. We do have 2 teams with 5 games. The A's, who are not not a team we throw away anymore. They got a lot of good pieces on offense. Lawrence Butler had another good game today. He's been really fun. Rooker's obviously had a great year. And Miami, 5 games this week too. Miami's kind of sneaky. We thought they were dead after the All-Star break. They've actually been scoring on some pitchers. It's been frustrating when I threw those pitchers against them, and they don't gem against them. But they've been a little squirrely on offense.
Yeah, they have. And I think it's been kind of interesting to see. Like, well, we mentioned Edwards as one, but Jake Berger, I think, is like the second most homers since July 1st or something like that. I forget the start point, but it's a good number.
He's been hot. He's been hot for sure.
Jesus Sanchez hit one to the moon, but it was only 480 feet.
Man, when he hits them though, he really hits them.
Yeah. They've had some guys that are sneaky, kind of contributing. Their pitching still pretty tragic.
Yeah. Somehow Jonah Bride has been really good for like 2 weeks too, which makes no sense because he was on the A's and didn't do much, and then he's going there. Kyle Stowers has done nothing since coming over from the Orioles. They sent Connor Norby down. But kind of piece it together. It's frustrating when you have like such a good matchup on paper and they sneak out 3 or 4 runs against your pitcher.
Yeah. I don't know why they only have 5 games though. That's the funny thing, because it's at Philly, at the Mets. They have an off day Monday, off day Thursday. It's not like it's an interleague rivalry thing. They're playing divisional opponents. I mean,
I think it's just a weird schedule thing because the Phillies play 4 against the Nationals over the weekend. So maybe it just had to line up. I don't know. Yeah. It is a weird one. Obviously the A's play 5 because they play the Giants over the weekend.
Yeah, and they chose to take Friday off instead of like these teams. There's two matchups that took today off. The Chicago teams and St. Louis, Kansas City. Yeah, so it was a weird schedule today too. God, I hate that. I just hate the 2 games.
Like 3 times today. I forget who it was. It was I think it was Mason Wynn. I was trying to figure out if Mason Wynn played today, and I was scrolling on the ESPN score and I couldn't find the Cardinals. It was driving me crazy, and I realized they didn't freaking play on a Sunday, which I should have figured out at some point. But man, it was brutal looking for it.
Yeah. It is.
Last A's Giants series in Oakland ever this weekend.
We'll see about that. The Phantom Stadium in Vegas may not happen.
Well, it's Sacramento, but I'm saying.
No, I'm just saying there's a non-zero chance.
You're right.
This kind of all comes back. They sell the team and they come back to Oakland or something. I don't know.
What do you mean? You were recently in Vegas. You didn't see the stadium being built. It wasn't almost done.
Frantically at work. There's no appetite to spend on yet another stadium. I mean, the problem is Vegas spent that money on that beautiful Raiders stadium, and they spent money on the hockey team. Hockey team, good on them. That was an expansion franchise. Sure, spend on that. I have less of a problem with that than anything else. But yeah, they don't have an appetite for that.
Yeah, and the football stadium gets a lot of other stuff in there too. They actually have the Super Bowl already, so yeah, they get a lot of stuff going on. Baseball stadium, it's gonna be a tough build. I don't know what's gonna happen there, but all right. Well, last Giants and Oakland game in this iteration of the A's franchise. How about that?
Yes,
I love the A's putting out a tweet of like all the historical stuff at the Coliseum. It just grossed me out. And of course they have all the comments turned off, so nobody can reply to them. It's just they know they're so cowardly.
Yeah. Well, I feel sad for the poor social media manager that was required to send that out.
That is true, right? That's whoever had to click send on that one probably cringed when they did it.
Yep. I hated my job.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's jump into some news and notes real quick. But first, a note from our sponsors at DraftKings Pick 6. Do you ever play the over-under game with your friends? Think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds? Or you think I can take down that 2-liter soda in over a minute? If you have, you're going to love Pick 6, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during fantasy season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if you have more or less of a statistic, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot to win huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers. Play $5 and get 50 in Pick 6 credits only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is now yours. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. So, Jeff, I want to get into FAAB here real quick, but a few news and notes. We mentioned River Ryan on the Dodgers. When we're talking about the Dodgers kind of losing arms, he's out for the season, forearm, elbow thing. It sounds like a UCL strain. They call it forearm tightness, whatever it is. Ryan's done for the year. Really a shame here. He's been pitching really well. Of all the Dodgers young guys, in his 3 or 4 starts, he looked really good. The Dodgers can't keep guys healthy, and this one hurts for them.
Big time. I mean, and it just shows too. they think they've got maybe a potential solution. No, you do not. Walker Buehler's coming back. I know that's next on our outline there. So I thought I'd just roll the two of them in together there.
For sure. Who knows what we're going to get from him, by the way?
Right. He was low-key terrible for a while on his rehab assignment. Not as bad as Bobby Miller, by the way, but the fact that they can't get anything out of Bobby Miller this year, it's a scary time for Dodgers right now. They don't know who their closer is. Oh, let's use Anthony Banda in high leverage situation. Oh, no, that was a bad idea. It's just that they're really kind of like flailing, kind of feeling their way around. Now, this has happened before, but it hasn't happened where they've had this small of a lead. They've had little moments, like they got swept by the Pirates one time last year. I think it was. I think they lost 5 out of 6 at one point to the Reds and the Pirates. But they were up like 1 billion games. Yeah. That's not the case now. They got 2 teams closing in on them pretty hot and heavy, and they don't know who their pitcher is on any given night.
And you figure, the Padres and Diamondbacks obviously can't stay this long, but like one of those teams will probably stay pretty good. One of them might take a step back, but you got to figure at least one of those teams is going to push them. Someone in the chat asked about Yoshi Yamamoto. He's throwing to batters next weekend, up to 30 pitches in his bullpen. So he's still, it's still like 3 or 4 weeks away with a couple of rehab starts, right?
Yeah, I think so. And that's the thing. So they're going to get Mookie back. They're going to get Muncy back, and that's a good positive new development. About a week and a half ago, it's so funny. I had I had a Dodger specific podcast a week ago Thursday, and that night the Dodgers kind of announced that, the chiropractor worked, whereas traditional medicine didn't. All of a sudden he can swing now, and then he went on a rehab assignment. He's coming back, and that's going to lengthen that lineup. That's going to be huge. At least the lineup will cure some of these ills, but still, I mean, they're going to be counting on guys like Knack and Robleski to try to kind of fill some pretty key innings, I think. And I was pointing out in the chat, the Padres swooped in and snagged a couple of the high leverage relievers too. Now, by the way, Kopech's been awesome. So getting Kopech was great.
Yep. He's been great.
But they need it. They need more. It's more, as the meme goes. They need more of that.
I think we talked about it last week, but like quietly in this whole thing, Will Smith has been horrendous for the Dodgers since the first month of the season. He hit 212 in May, 203 in June, 208 in July, and he's at 100 so far in August. Obviously, that's only 5 games, but he has been legit terrible. He missed a middle fastball from Bednar today that normally Will Smith hits that in the gap for a double, and just his swing looks off. You could tell he's pressing. The Dodgers announcers even like he had a 1 hit, he had a double off the wall day. And they're like, oh, he's finally getting going. I'm like, well, if it's 1 hit, like let's pump the brakes a little bit. He's one for you can feel them like kind of wish casting into it, like, oh, there it is. There's the one swing that gets Will Smith back. He's been legit awful for them. It's huge because they had a big 4 that went to a big 2 really quickly because Mookie's been hurt and Will Smith's been terrible.
Well, it's kind of it's not dissimilar to Adley Rutschman, in his second half in the last couple of months. Contreras slowed down after his massive start too. I mean, catchers,
it's a tough position.
That's what happens with the position a little bit, and they count on him to keep going at that rate is probably asking too much.
Yeah, so it's they need him to get going though too, and obviously Muncy back will be huge for them. On the other side in the American League, Grayson Rodriguez, we talked about him last week. He had gotten hurt. He's been shut down for 10 days. The quote was hoping to return in September. For fantasy purpose, I think that just makes him a full drop.
I haven't dropped him yet, Scott, but yeah, it's close. It's really close.
And the problem
I had plenty of other drops was my problem.
The Orioles are going to be in the playoffs. So it's not going to push him the last week. You probably can't throw him the first week he comes back because it'll be short innings. You're kind of hoping for like 2 or 3 starts at most. I know Grayson's really good, but that's tough.
It is. I think they'll try to push him just so he can be playoff ready.
Yeah, could be.
I think that's still a thing that could happen.
So I hope so, because I this Orioles team is fun, and they obviously they need him out there if they're going to make a run in the playoffs. A few other minor notes. Hunter Harvey won the 15-day out with some mid and back tightness. He was kind of in that closer mix in Kansas City. Looks like maybe we got some Lucas Urseg. We'll talk about him. We talk about FAAB, but he might take over that role a little bit. Maybe they'll go with some Chris Bubich was in there, kind of throwing some high leverage late innings too. So maybe we get some of that. CJ Abrams missed the weekend with back spasms, hoping to return on Tuesday. Speaking of guys who've been bad since July 1st, Abrams is like $170 since July 1st. He has been, after a really hot start where there were a lot of victory laps, he's definitely cooled off.
Yeah, I was giving him away. I don't have any Abrams, so I was kind of awarding him. I still kind of believe in him, But
I mean, he's still 17-20. Like he's still probably going to work out where he got drafted, but he had 47 steals last year. He's not going to hit close to that number. Maybe he gets to 30 if things go well, but the batting average, I think, is the issue with him. He doesn't have a lot of hard contact. He doesn't strike out a lot, which helps him a lot. The walks are a little bit up, but he still hasn't shown much above a 250 average. He's been kind of in the 240s every year of his career.
Still think there's a monster season in there.
I do too.
But
yeah, I didn't think it was going to be this year, but I do think it's coming at some point. He's. Do you see the ball he hit out? I think it was during the week. There was like the highest ball hit for a home run all year. It was like a foot out of the strike zone. It was off Birdsong of the Giants.
No.
It was a crazy swing. It's like eye level, and he not only hit it out, he pulled it out. It was a crazy swing.
Yeah. It is wild to see kind of the swings in the season. Paul we're referring to our catcher thing and how Yennier Diaz is all of a sudden hitting.
Yeah, that's true. He's gone the opposite way.
Yeah. Cal Raleigh hit 2 monster shots. He's still hitting two. He's hitting under 220, but still, I think he's up to 26 homers after today.
And he's just a stone cold lock for 30 home runs. I mean, he's hit 27, 30, and now 26. Like the home runs are there every single year now. I mean, that's 3 years in a row. I think you can lock that in.
Yep. He's going to go expensive next year.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to be 225 with 30 home runs or whatever, whatever that comes up in the 10th, 11th, 9th.
Yeah, but you're also you're going 25-80 as a floor.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's huge.
That's so nice.
And the batting averages are lower than they used to be too. So hitting 220 doesn't hurt you as much as it used to. He's up to he's at 217 right now. But yeah, he's kind of who he is, and it's pretty valuable.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I know I sidebarred you. You're talking CJ Abrams, and I just
it's good.
Catchers and
I think Abrams. I think we both agree that he's still really young. He's still gonna. You mentioned he's gonna have a big season, and when you have the stolen base floor. Paul Sporer mentioned that you have the home run stolen base floor. It kind of makes it so you can't fall that low. But
for sure.
I think after on May 15th, we thought the huge season was here, and it's not here at the moment, but it's still come. Still got 7 weeks left. Real quick, we mentioned Ketel Marte earlier, ankle contusion, expected back Monday. It was so minor they didn't even feel like they needed X-rays. Just kind of gave him today off. But you mentioned 30 home runs. He's been a monster. Riley Greene expected to start a rehab assignment on Tuesday. So mentioned probably he'd be maybe 4 or 5 games. We'll probably be able to use him next week for the Tigers.
Yep, not a moment too soon. He was so good.
Yeah. I would love to get him back. Also, some of the chat mentioned Tyler Stevenson been a big in second half too. That's another good pull on catchers that have flipped it. So maybe it's just hard to have a full good year as a catcher. Maybe you have ups and downs. Maybe the hot can come at some point. But yeah, it's a good point on Stevenson.
Yeah.
Let's jump into FAAB. I want to start with starting pitchers. FAAB was active this week. It was I think we kind of expected maybe a little bit of a less active week. The last 2 weeks were really active with the trade deadline. Man, there were a lot of bids in my league, over 30 bids in each of my main event leagues. I'm a little low on money. I was not able to get anybody I really wanted. People were really people have money. We talked about a few weeks ago. There's a lot of teams that still have some money. There was not a lot of spending in the first, not as much spending as normal in the first 3 months. So there's teams that are, got $200-300 and going to use it on stuff. First one on starting pitchers, Tyler Mahle, our old friend from the Reds, is back up and with the Rangers. Has made his first start this week, 5 innings, looked pretty good against Houston. Only 2 strikeouts, but only 1 run. Gave up 5 hits, walked 1. Has 2 starts this week, so you're going right into the fire with Mahle. He's going against Pittsburgh. At Boston, and then home against Minnesota. So not an ideal 2 starts. Those are two pretty good offenses. Were you interested in Mahle this week? And if you picked him up, you got to use him. But you're probably holding your breath a little bit on those matchups.
I was because I'm worried about the rain. The Rangers need him to throw innings just because they ain't got nobody left. Part of my improper grammar, but it's they're dropping like flies. It's really tough right now to watch. But yeah, he was high on our list, and we got him nowhere. I didn't get him there. I didn't get him in the main. He went for. We started the day with like 92 left though, so we didn't have a whole lot of money left, like you said. He went for 31 in my league. We actually had a player go for 160. We'll save that. I'll keep you in suspense a little bit. Yeah. Walker Buehler was available in my league.
What did he go for? I'm curious.
63.
All right.
We bid like 17. I think we were second place on there. Yay. But
I had Mahle. We went for 47 and 70 in mine. I had a Marcus Stroman available in one of my leagues. Someone
I had him available in my league too.
He went for, I would like to get him because I need wins badly there. My ratios are pretty good, but he went 52 out of my range. I was a little surprised he went that high.
Yeah. We're all just desperate, man.
We are. And that's the thing. You're looking for anybody with a pulse.
And like you said, money's out there.
Yeah. The guy we talked about last week a little bit, Cody Bradford, he was available last week in a lot of leagues, but he was facing the Yankees. I think people were a little wary of that. Pitched really well against the Yankees. He was 54% rostered in the main event. Obviously, he was popular this week with where he was available just because off that good start. I like Bradford. He showed a lot earlier in the year. Then he got hurt. They kind of slowly ramped him back up, had a couple of short outings, but he looked really good against New York this week.
He did. And, he was really good until he got hurt. And then he was hurt a lot longer than I expected.
Me too.
So just couldn't hold on to him, and I didn't really get him back anywhere. But Texas is one of those frustrating teams too. I mean, they get all the free pass that they want for a couple. Flags fly forever. But man,
I was gonna say won the World Series like 8 months ago, or 12 months ago. Yeah. He went for 17 in my league, and then the other league I picked him up last week, so I was happy with that. Although I didn't use him this week, so I didn't really get any benefit out of it. But it's always nice to get someone a week early that people are bidding on the next week.
Yep.
Jeff, our Reds have a starter that is in discussion this week. Believe it or not, Nick Martinez off some moving to the starting rotation, some good outings. He has a 1.21 ERA since July 1. Obviously, some of that is in relief, but Martinez pitched really well this week. He was about 40% rostered in the main event. He has a start this week against Kansas City, home in Cincinnati. How do you feel about Nick Martinez moving forward here?
It's interesting because all season long he's been much better as a reliever than a starter. I think that's a little fluky because he's only had 7 starts, but his last 2 starts have been very good. He got the win against the Marlins on the start of the week. He was a 2-stepper last week. That's the interesting thing. He was very good against the Brewers yesterday.
That was a fun game. Him and Tobias Myers both dealt. I mean, it was a fun starting pitching matchup. How about that?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I know that Hoskins hit the solo home run and Bobby Yerger was going crazy on the mic. But him, Martinez and Tobias Myers, like one of the better pitching duels the whole season. I think they both gave up 1 or 2 hits and they had like 16 strikeouts combined. It was really fun back and forth.
Yeah. And that until they brought in Tony Santillan, who has actually been very good since coming back from the IL. But I'm just happy the Reds are done with the Brewers. I don't want to see the Brewers anymore.
I feel like that's been a multi-year thing too.
It has.
Yeah. Okay. I think you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, it's pure ownership.
Yeah.
But Martinez has been very good, and it's kind of born out of necessity that he's in the rotation. I mean, Ashcraft is gone. He's out for the year, I think now, if I recall correctly. He was going to get sent down anyhow. They trade away Montas to the Brewers. But it's I like the Martinez sign in the offseason, and we've kind of rostered him back and forth, I think twice in our main because we thought he'd start early in the year. So of course we got outbid this time, and it'll be great.
Martinez has an ERA under 3.5 the last 3 years. I know a lot of that is in relief, but some spot starts in there. He's someone that over the last 3 years has not killed you. There were some years in Texas where he did kill teams, but he's been pretty good since he's moved to the National League in 2022. Speaking of the National League, to stick there for a second, a couple other arms. Ryne Nelson was available in a number of most 12 teamers. He was mostly rostered in 15 teamers. Ryne Nelson's got a 2.98 ERA over the last 8 games. Someone that got a lot of attention.
Phenomenal on Friday.
Yeah. Nick Pollock liked him a lot in the offseason. So a lot of people, a lot of buzz on him when Nick talks pitchers. Obviously people listen for good reason. Ryne Nelson seems like he's finally coming around. He's been really good this last couple of months.
He sure has. I picked him up in a 12. Where I finally was able to drop Reese Olson. I think I'd been out, I think I'd just been outbid every other time I've been trying to drop him. And then I got him in Yogurt. Yogurt is still the weirdest league ever, dude. I got him unopposed. 17-0 in that league, which he should be rostering every 12.
And TJ Piazza 15.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He should be rostered every 15 is what I meant to say. Sorry. Thanks. There was someone that went for 169 in that league, though. It wasn't like people aren't bidding. It's just we're all bidding on different people. It's the most bizarre league ever.
And I think you get a lot of people that like do that league last too and are doing other leagues and they kind of check in. I know that I always I do that one usually 5th on my NFBC team. So I just I always kind of put in some random bids there too. So
guilty.
Yeah. Paul Blackburn, another guy who's not really rostered in 12 teamers, only 17% in 12 teamers. He was picked up in a lot of 15ers last week, although he's going to Coors this week, but pitched pretty well in Coors. He's got a two-step this week, Oakland and Miami. I know we joked earlier about those offenses being a little better. I feel like you're going to throw this. Obviously, Oakland scores a lot of runs recently, but in terms of two steps, you're not going to get a ton of strikeouts from Blackburn, but pitching for the Mets, I think this is pretty throwable this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Revenge game against Oakland. And I don't know why he has revenge for, except for maybe the owners. Okay, that's a good reason.
Yeah, if Fisher and Cavill are stepping in the box, you're gonna get some nasty stuff.
The Mets are playing some terrible ball right now. At least they were this weekend.
They almost got shut out in all 3 games.
Yeah, really, really bad weekend for them. At a bad time to have a bad weekend, but they get a day off. They're back home. He gets 2 home starts. I mean, you got to throw him if you have him, and I absolutely think it's going to be you're not going to get a ton of Ks with Blackburn. That's the one thing that's always pretty.
Although he's got 6 in each of his 2 starts with the Mets, so and for you take that for sure. Only giving up 1 earned run in each of those. He's pitched really well in his 2 starts with the Mets. Obviously, it's only 2 starts, but he has looked pretty sharp. He's someone that can kind of craft his way around a lineup. There will be some blowups in there at some point because when he's a little bit off, he's very off, and he can't. He's not so has the stuff to be a little bit off. Yeah. But I think that 2 home starts, you're definitely throwing that. I was definitely in on the bidding for him.
For sure.
Yeah. Anybody else pitching wise? We got some names in here. DL Hall came back today. Trevor Rogers, the guy we talked about before, he was only 20% rostered in 12. He has 2 starts this week. Also, Bowden Francis in Toronto pitched really well this week. He's got 2 starts. Also, Taijuan Walker, who I usually avoid at all costs, has 2 starts this week. Anybody else? Any of those names you like, or anybody else you're thinking?
I didn't say but we did get Taijuan Walker in his 2 starts.
There's times he pitches well, but man, he scares me always.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We got outbid on our preferences, so we got Taijuan instead. I'm not too proud, but that's
home Miami and home Washington, though. Those are really good chances for wins, if nothing else.
Especially because it's the current iteration of Washington. It's not really hitting all that well right now.
Yeah. If you're going to line it up on paper, that's about as good as it gets right now in the National League.
Exactly. I want to comment on DL Hall, generate a lot of Ks today against the Reds. But you also saw the limitations of Hall is he can't go deep into games. And that's always been kind of the problem. He kind of wore down and he left. I think it was either 3-2 Reds or 3-3 by the time he left. I think it was 3-2 Reds. And then the Brewers rallied a tie and then the Reds went ahead again. But point is Hall's interesting. I just don't know how deep he's going to be able to go.
Yeah, I was actually a little surprised he got 4 2/3 today. I thought maybe it would be like a 3, maybe max 4 inning outing, but I guess the early success bought him some time. He did have 9 strikeouts on 4 2/3. That's pretty nice right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was, needing wins. You kind of change what you do. I was mildly interested in Bowden Francis in Toronto just based on how he pitched his last start, and he's got some pretty good metrics. But there's a lot of big name 2 steps this week, and a lot of interesting kind of fringy ones. I feel we're gonna get some good ones and some gombering in here at some point. There's gonna be some of these that are gonna turn out pretty ugly. There's a lot of kind of fringe 2-start guys. We talked about a bunch of them, and some of them are not gonna work well.
Yeah, PJ322 says we're going to get Gombered with Ryne Nelson, so we'll see.
All right, interesting. He's pitched really well, but yes, he's someone that is prone to blow up. He's at Boston this week, so I imagine a lot of people picked him up. Maybe don't use him for the first week. That's at Boston's just a tough place to be.
But he was against Philly, and he did fine there.
He did.
But yes, at Boston's even scarier right now. Yeah. I don't want that series at all. That's for sure.
Let's jump into relievers. There were a lot of interesting relievers this week, but first, a quick note from our sponsors at Home Run Forecast. Can certain weather conditions lead to more home runs? The atmosphere can affect how far a baseball flies by up to 20%. Home Run Forecast measures the weather conditions at a ballpark to tell us if the atmosphere is good or bad for ball flight during a game. An index value that rates the air is created for each game and ballpark and is displayed on a scale from 1 to 10. Home Runs Forecast premium site offers index values by the hour for each game, 24-hour forecast, wind direction and speed, and even whether the roof will be open at certain stadiums. Go to homerunforecast.com/rotowire now to sign up. So, Jeff, there were a lot of relievers. We'll start at the top just because we so rarely get a reliever that goes out of his job. We had Camilo Doval get sent down in the minors, whether it's injury or demotion. We very rarely these days have a manager that comes out and says that this guy's the closer. I'm going to use him as a closer. And Bob Melvin did that. He did that with Ryan Walker this week, who's been really good. The first kind of mumblings out of San Francisco, like, they don't want to move him out of his spot. He's really good there. Maybe they'll use Hicks. Maybe they'll use one of the Rogers brothers. But it's going to be Ryan Walker. He converted his first save too, which is always massive when you get named the job. That first one just buys you, he buys you just to take a breath. Like you feel like you can blow in. That first one, it's really tough. He's 28, so he's not really a prospect kind of guy right now. He kind of works his way through the minors. Started in 2018, made it to the majors last year for the first time with the Giants. But 61 innings this year, a 2.2 ERA, a 0.9 WHIP, a 31% strikeout rate. He's dropped his walk rate over 3% this year, down under 6%, 13% swinging strike rate. If you don't know who Ryan Walker is coming this, you look at his stat line. It looks really, really sharp.
Yeah. Well, and that's just the thing. Relievers pop up like this every year. We don't it happens to you and I, who spent an inordinate amount of time looking at the player.
Way too much time looking at next man up relievers.
Yeah. And then we still Ryan Walker. What?
Yeah.
He went for 160 in my main event.
There it is. I figured that was gonna be the name that went big. I mean, if you had money,
Japinka. I mean, it's not like some inexperienced player that's just gonna go ahead and just I'll just blow it because on the next guy gets safe. Someone who's spent a lot of time doing this there. It's crazy. $160 went for 185 in somebody else's main.
In a league where I feel like there's 10 teams where I don't know who's coming in the door or out the bullpen door when the ninth inning comes out. We don't know, and there's committees. Having Bob Melvin, who's a veteran manager who wants one guy and then says it's the guy, like that means a ton. Like you figure the leash is pretty decent. I mean, he blows 3 saves in a row. Sure, the leash is gone, but the leash is pretty good right now. They're going to give him a pretty good shot.
Absolutely. Compare that to the Diamondbacks, who they're playing great ball, but Torey Lovullo just hates us. Absolutely hates us.
It seems like maybe Justin Martinez is flipping to that role, but I don't think there's a set role there right now either.
They're never. That's the way he likes it too.
Yeah.
Like Rob Thompson, same thing. With the Phillies. I mean, that's just a feature, not a bug. And he's just giving us the big middle finger. Dave Roberts does this too. There's a lot of managers that take pure joy in screwing us here. And I want to get Verklempt, but it helps the team. I understand. So
I feel like Dave Roberts though has no plan when he gets the 6th inning anyway. It's so different and so random, and you want to figure out a matchup base. It doesn't even seem like it's that. It seems like a guy can go the 6th or the 9th. At some point, his relievers must not love that. You and I know some relievers, and I know that they like to be comfortable, at least knowing kind of what type of the ballpark time of the game they're coming in. You don't need to be set exactly, but 6th and 9th is a big difference. That's like an hour difference on your warm up and stuff. That's a big difference.
That's true. That part is true. I'll grant that. I need to know my role. Yeah, your role is to get guys out, but but you need to know when to be ready. I understand being in a major league bullpen and the day-to-day grind of that.
Right.
Yes, that's got to be frustrating as I'll get up. And Roberts has done this for a while now too. And there's other managers too. And going back to Arizona, they trade for AJ Puck. Oh, well, we'll just use him randomly.
It is a little randomly.
Kevin Ginkel was great in the role last year. He's having a good season. We're not going to use him. We want to use him in the current role.
Yeah, and then
Paul Sewald, so you can't get too mad.
And Paul Sewald might get it back at some point too. That's not another possibility also. But Martinez has been kind of the guy this week. Again, we know what's happened. He's an electric guy. He's got a ton of strikeouts.
Yeah, he's been good all year.
30% strikeout rate, but it's the walks. And when you get into a closer role, guys at bats are a little more locked in. When you walk guys, it becomes way more magnified. We've seen it many times with closers that walk too many guys. It's really tough. It's tough to have a 12% strikeout or 12% walk rate and get guys out in the 9th inning. And you've got to really get strikeouts. He's given up 0.18 home runs per 9 this year. Last year was high, although it was only 10 innings, but that's a really low rate. He's gotten really lucky on home runs. Mm-hmm. He's given up 1.6% barrel rate. So a lot of that's his credit. He's avoided hard hit balls, but
for sure,
you put guys on with a 1-run lead and you make one bad pitch, it can go south pretty fast. So I was interested in Martinez, but I was definitely significantly more interested in Ryan Walker this week.
Yeah, likewise. And actually, and in my main, we're stuck at 25 saves. We've been there for about a month now, so we're done. We put a keep him on a $17 bid on Walker, knowing we wouldn't get him. No, he went for more money than we had in our account, so that was fine.
So my issue where I'm really bad in saves is I would normally punt this, but I am in the CLQ contest.
Right, that's an added element there,
where I maybe can't gain any points in my league, but I can certainly gain in a contest which has over 200 something teams in it. And I'm kind of been right on the fringe of that top 15 most of the year. My main event team's the worst of my 3 teams by a pretty big margin, but like every save there makes a pretty big difference. So while I might be the best strategy in my main event league to punt those saves, I don't know if I can get myself to do it these last 7 weeks because I know they matter somewhere else. It's a kind of a complicated little situation, a box I put myself in.
The overall.
Yeah, but winning, I mean, placing in your main event league is a lot of money, but that CLQ, if you get to the final table, someone asked in the chat what the CLQ is a champion league. It was a league set up in FBC that has draft champions, online championship, main event. The teams are combined, and there's 200 teams. The top 15 goes on to an auction next year where there's a bunch of money at stake. So it matters for that. And I'll probably have to dig in the numbers and see which hurts me more, helps me more, and kind of decide from there. But I didn't know it was going to affect me, and I'm in a spot where it actually is right now.
Of course. Welcome to the brave new world.
Yeah. There's another question in the chat about the Orioles bullpen. I was going to get there, I promise. Craig Kimbrell was horrendous again today. 3 walks in his 1 inning. Did have 2 strikeouts, but gave up a run. Got the loss. It's just 3 walks is just you just can't deal with that. One of them was intentional. I do understand that he intentionally walked Josh Lowe, but still, he's been rough for a while. Seranthony Dominguez picked up a save. Yennier Cano, since he kind of semi-rooted that role, has not been very good. I imagine they want to find somebody to throw the 9th inning as they get in the playoffs, but I don't know who it is right now.
If only there was a mechanism where they could have added someone that could have closed for them.
Can you imagine if you put Tanner Scott at the end of that bullpen? It'd be so nice right now.
Yeah. Former Oriole Tanner Scott.
Tanner Scott. That is true. Maybe they know something about Tanner Scott we don't. But
well, they can't. Maybe they just have the version that was there with them before in their mind and can't.
That walked everybody, and they don't believe the new walk rate. But you're right. I mean, this is a team we talked about them many times. Like they need to add something in the bullpen, and I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know who pitches the 9th the next game. My guess would be Seranthony Dominguez, but I would not put a ton of faith in that.
I'm going to laugh when it's CNL Perez or like Gregory Soto or something like that.
And it certainly could be.
Yeah, it could be.
And,
here's my shocked face though that Craig Kimbrell is letting a team down in the stretch run though.
And he threw in the 8th today in a tie game, so that was not really a traditional closer spot, but he came in as a high leverage spot for sure, and it was a mess. So. Anybody else? You mentioned Michael Kopech earlier. 5 1/3 with the Dodgers. No earned runs, 8 strikeouts, no walks. He's been really, really good for them. But again, you mentioned Dave Roberts. I have no idea who's pitching the 6th or the 9th in that bullpen right now, and I don't think anybody does. I'm not even sure Dave does.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But maybe it's just you add the good pitcher, and you just hope that the role sorts itself out in your favor later on. I don't know.
If he sticks with that level of dominance, maybe they just we got to throw this guy late in the game. You're right.
Yeah, Steven was mentioning he's just rolling Ginkle out there, and he's got a top 100 team in the main, and that's a viable strategy.
Yep. I mean, until you could find someone you like more in that 9th spot, you get good ratios. Maybe you steal some wins in there. It's a lot better than some of the other 9th pitchers that I'm throwing out there. That's for darn sure.
Yep, absolutely. You teased it, but we didn't really break it down. Lucas Erceg, what do you think about him?
Yeah, 37% rostered in 12 teamers. So he was pretty much picked up in most main events when Mason Miller went on the IL. So when he was with the A's. So and then last week, MacArthur kind of was doing really poorly. So I think people held on to Erceg. That's why he's so highly owned in the 15 teamers. But I like Erceg. He's been really good since he got to Kansas City. Hunter Harvey went on the IL. MacArthur's been a mess. He hasn't given up a run since he went to the Royals and striking guys out. And he hasn't walked anybody since he's been in the Royals either. Like. From what they've seen, it's been 6 outings. He's been really, really good. I think he gets the next stop.
Yep. Detroit. Tyler Holton got a save. I think it was a 1-out variety, which I think is part of the problem with him.
Someone named Vest got the save today.
Yeah. Will Vest.
I was going to say Alex Vest, but that didn't feel right.
Yeah. But Holton has had a good year last year, but if you dug in a little deeper, you're like, oh, he's not that dominant. It's kind of a situational guy. he's a good pitcher, but I also think that's another team that sneakily, the way they manage their bullpen, it's never one guy.
Yeah, and he's a lefty, so you figure he's gonna get matchups out of some of these anyway.
Yep.
But his ERA under 0.9 the last 2 years, so he has been very effective baseball-wise. But you're right, there's not a ton of strikeouts. He's shown all the swinging strike rate's pretty good. Not a ton of strikeouts. I liked him as a pitcher. I didn't like him as a fantasy closer at the moment.
Fair.
Yeah. Real quick before we jump out of here, let's talk about some hitters. Just a couple of guys at the top that I mentioned. If they're available in your 12 teamers or any kind of shallow leagues, I know we talk a lot about FBC, but obviously this stuff goes for all your leagues. Parker Meadows and Jake McCarthy, rostered across the board in main events and 15 teamers, but Meadows is 65% rostered coming in today in a 12 teamer. McCarthy's 42%. I think those guys should both be owned in every 12 teamer. Meadows just has a ton of upside. I know he struggled really early on. He was struggling a ton early on, been back. McCarthy's been on fire. He gets some stolen bases. He had a couple of home runs he was there Friday or Saturday night. He had 7 RBIs over the weekend. Meadows and McCarthy, I think, should be owned across the board in all leagues. Obviously you get shallow and shallower, maybe not, but at least in the 12 team format, I think those guys should be rostered across the board.
Absolutely. McCarthy, we were getting whipsawed a little bit where we'd bench him. And
you just left him in though, right?
Yeah, we've just left him in now. And it doesn't matter if there's a lefty projected because, again, Lovello's kind of rotation has been a little weird too about who plays, when. It's not always lefty sits against lefty, in part because, Corbin Carroll's left-handed hitter. McCarthy's a left-handed hitter. Thomas, I think, is a left-handed hitter.
He is.
So, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to roll on. And McCarthy's red hot right now. So just roll with him.
I mean, Carroll sat the other day against a lefty and McCarthy played. So
today that Gurriel got hurt. So then Carroll came in after all.
Yeah. Nice pinch in, or I guess a substitution homer was nice, but yeah, you mentioned Jock Peterson left-handed too. So they do have a lot of lefties that sit against lefties.
Yeah. Boy, Peterson had a time last week against Pittsburgh. He hit a ball, I think, that just finally landed.
They got a good, I know we talked about it already, but they have a good fun team.
Yeah. Yep.
So after those two guys, I felt like it was very much a grab bag at all of offense this week. Maybe at the top of that list, Jerar Encarnacion in San Francisco was interesting. Crazy high hard contact rate, but with that goes a crazy high strikeout rate too. This is someone that has like an over 50% hard hit rate in the minors last year in AAA and this year. He's been hitting the ball pretty well so far for the Giants. Only 34 plate appearances, so just kind of got called up. But he's someone that he feels like a guy to me that can hit 4 home runs in a week or not get a hit for 2 weeks. You have to hope you hit the right weeks. But interesting if you needed some pop.
Yeah, absolutely. He kind of after the Soler trade, he's been getting that playing time, got the call. Tyro Estrada's been out forever. Wilmer Flores has been out for a while now. Obviously, Jung-Hoo Lee is out for the season. That was way early, but they needed some pop, and he's provided it there. It's interesting. The Giants are one of those teams. Like, how are they there? How are they competitive? Because you look at that roster, but they've gotten like a stretch where Patrick Bailey was great. They got a stretch where Tyler Fitzgerald was great. Now that Encarnacion's interesting. Elliot Ramos has been great at times.
Been great. He had a really good year. Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of getting some non-touted names. And meanwhile, the starting pitching in the non-Hayden Birdsong category has been pretty good lately. So Birdsong, I mean, I think was today okay. I think he pitched okay today, but he was awful earlier in the week. Which is a shame.
He got smoked early in the week. I think he was, he was not very good today. 4 1/3, 5 earned runs, 5 hits.
You're right.
The whip wasn't horrible. He had 5 strikeouts, but the 5 earned and 4 1/3 is not. But
ideal. The beginning of the week was just killer.
And the interesting thing with the Encarnacion is like he's going to sit against some righties because the Giants have so many lefties. But I love the fact that whenever there's a lefty, he's going to be playing because they have Conforto, they have Wade, they have Yastrzemski, they've got Brett White. They got a lot of lefties in that lineup. And then he'll play against some righties. So you hope he plays against half the righties and all the lefties, and you kind of have to play him based on matchups. And, if they're getting 3 righties in a week, maybe you sit him. But in terms of the bats this week, I thought he was mildly interesting. Ty France for our Reds. You got 6 home games this week. Always a good thing with any Reds hitter. Seems like he's playing pretty much every day for the Reds right now.
Yeah. Look at who they were, what the production they were getting out of first base. It was just tragic. So it makes sense. To kind of just take a chance on him. It costs nothing. And maybe they lotto. Maybe it's just, okay, he really hated that ballpark in Seattle. And we saw it. And it's kind of ironic that Seattle scored 12 runs tonight because the conditions for a while, they kept on talking about how hard it was to see. And then the Seattle scored 12 runs. Mets got shut out until late, but they got that one. But still, kind of interesting to see that there. Other guy I was interested in is Alex Call in the Nats. I mean, he's getting tons of playing time right now. He's had.
I feel like he has multi-hits every game. He has had some kind of crazy stretch right now. It feels like.
Yeah. So, yeah, we are in on him also.
My God, he has multi-hit in 6 straight games.
Yeah, he sure does. I got his former teammate, the guy that got moved for him. We picked up Jesse Winker. Dude, he was batting cleanup today. I mean, it's like.
When they face a righty, he's in the right in the middle of that thing, and they're usually a really fun and good lineup. They were not this weekend. I do get that, but usually they're going to team that's going to score some runs with all the bats they have.
Yeah, Scott, we have not mentioned the hitter that was the most picked up player in the NFBC main event this week. Do you know who that is?
Andrew Benintendi?
No, close. He was the second most picked up hitter.
Oh, that was a good guess. Boy, that's kind of the top guys that I had. I don't know who that would be right now.
So here's the context you need is it's someone who wasn't available to us until this week.
I do not know who you're talking about.
Adrian Del Castillo.
Yes, Adrian Del Castillo.
49 leagues this week.
Catching for Gabe Moreno.
Yep, and hitting a walk-off on Friday night tends to help the bids there a little bit too. He's actually a legitimate prospect. And you never know with prospects. Sometimes you hit the ground running. Sometimes you're Kobe Mayo. By the way,
he had 24 home runs in AAA this year. Castillo. I mean, that's a huge catcher. And I was like, I don't need a catcher. And I looked at him. I'm like, holy crap, he had 24 home runs.
And this seems like more than a 10-day absence for Moreno, which is a shame because Moreno was finally starting to come around. After a terrible start to the season, he was hitting better. But Del Castillo is, he's there for you. And, I think that it's something you should at least be paying attention to if you have any late leagues with FAAB. They get the Paste Eaters at home to start off with, not in Coors, unfortunately, and then at Tampa Bay later in the week. Yeah,
that works. That's a good call. Yeah, 49 leagues. I mean, you're right. He was not available anywhere. I was trying to look at people that were lowly rostered. That's why I guessed Benintendi, and he had 5 home runs this week. But I mean, you talk 15 teams, that's 30 catchers. There are always 7 or 8 teams who are playing someone they don't want to play.
Yeah. But it's if in deeper leagues where you start 2 catchers.
Yeah.
That's what this is ideal. You don't care if he plays every other day if you enter a 2 catcher league. Yeah. Now, if you're in 1 catcher, well, okay, well then you can probably safely ignore.
Speaking of catchers, there were a couple of guys in 12-teamers. Both Joey Bart and Alejandro Kirk are under 25% or fewer or lower rostered coming this week. Those are both guys that I think they're both should be top 24 catchers. I think those guys should both be rostered in 12-teamers in a 2-catcher league also. Yeah.
Well, our second catcher spot was so desperate that we've actually had we've actually had Kirk rostered for about a month now.
Hey, he's hit 300 this month. That's worked.
Yeah, it has.
And, obviously they traded Danny Jansen. Kirk is playing a ton. You're not getting any power, but I think he's someone that will help you at batting average catcher. I know he started the year horribly, but he has been much, much better as of late. He hit 321 in July and 318 in August so far. So I even downplayed it. It's been about 320 since July 1st.
And I think we mentioned it at the time that Danny Jansen got traded, but the runway is there for him to play every day.
Yeah, and he's someone that has hit well for average in the past. Never going to pop. And this is someone that hit 285 and over a full season in 2022. I mean, you get 285 from a catcher. That's helping a lot. Did you do anything with Victor Scott II? He called back up for the Cardinals when Michael Ciani went on the IL. 75% roster in the main event, about 19% roster in 12-teamers. Obviously a massive, massive stolen base upside, but I think it's very up in there whether he can hit at all in the major league level. Yeah,
he had a couple of hits today, and he had 4 straight starts until not playing on Saturday. But no, we looked at it and then we're like, no, honestly, he did.
I did the same, by the way. He had 94 steals last year. So every time I see that, I'm like, I got to look at this. And I'm just like, I just don't know if he can hit.
Since getting called up, he's already struck out 6 more times. He's got a 2-to-21 K to walk to K.
Just put the ball in play somehow.
Hard to steal when you're not on base that much.
It is. He only has the craziest thing about Victor Scott. If you told me he had 26 games and 84 plate appearances, I would have been shocked. He has 2 stolen bases.
Yeah.
That is surprising.
Well, he had the opening day roster spot. I think he stole a base on opening day. I was all proud. I had him for $1 in my NL only keeper league. I couldn't hold on to him. We only have 3 reserve spots there. So we have DLs at least, but still, you need the spot eventually.
I did laugh at the guy in the chat saying he did something to Victor Scott. He sent him to getting some food with Uber Eats. So I did laugh at that one. Apparently not a Victor Scott fan there. Did you do anything with Zach DeCenzo? He's playing almost every day. He was for the Astros playing first base. They kind of rotated through first base and they need someone to hit there. He was hitting for average in the minors, but only in small plate appearances. But he was some of those 14 home runs, 16 stolen bases in 2023 in Double-A. And the Astros, you can get in that lineup. You can do some good stuff. He's utility only in NFBC, but we'll probably get some eligibility here pretty quick. And he's played 4 or 5 games at first base already. Kind of an interesting bat if he sticks with the Astros right now.
Yeah, I waterfalled him. For sure. But I don't think I got him anywhere. And the fact that he doesn't qualify in a position in the NFBC, maybe in a couple other formats, I still might, but
yeah,
that makes it tough.
One guy who should be picked up if he's available in your league, Kerry Carpenter is 68% rostered in the main event. He's on his rehab assignment. I think he's probably no more than a half week to a week away. And he's someone that could be a power boost these last 6 or 7 weeks if he can get healthy and stay healthy. I think he should be rostered definitely in 15-teamers and kind of maybe even a 12-teamer guy too.
Yeah, this is going to be the universe laughing at me because we picked him up too soon and then had to cut him and now we can't get him back.
Such a bad feeling. I did that with Jordan Walker, except I don't think we're ever going to pick him back up. Well, he has been good the last couple of weeks, but I had the Jordan Walker. I'm like, he's going to get called up, and I should have done. I was either him or Jackson Holiday, and I chose poorly.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that.
Any thought that Spencer Torkelson may come back at some point? I keep seeing his name in the FAAB, and I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. But he was so bad. He's kind of warmed up a little bit AAA, but every time I look at him, I'm like, I should pick him up and stash him, and I just haven't done it. I don't know if the upside's there right now with him.
Agreed. I didn't pick him up yet.
That was kind of all the bats. I think the only other one was mildly interesting. Whit Merrifield is second, third, and outfield eligible, playing every day for the Braves. I know the lineup is not what it used to be, but he's someone that if you need a little bit of speed, maybe you need some counting stats in a deeper league, and he's eligible in 3 spots. I think he's mildly interesting too. I picked him up in 1 spot at least.
For sure. I mean, he's in the grab bag.
Yeah, he's kind of just who he is. Knowing that he's not going to excite you or win much, but if you need a spot, you got someone hurt, I think he can help you fill in and maybe save a bench spot because he's got multiple spots there.
Various row high were in my
I do like that. That's a good call. Austin Hayes won in the IL, so Johan Rojas going to play most days in center field for the Phillies, and that's someone that definitely has some stolen base upside too.
Yeah, and then
who was the other row high?
Miguel.
All right.
Now that we know that Mookie is going to play right field and not shortstop,
good point.
That Miguel has still got a little value, and the quality of that lineup around him just got a little bit better.
Yeah. That was kind of all I had. I looked at Otto Lopez a little bit, looked at Derek Hill, but both guys in Miami, but I couldn't get too far with those guys. It was kind of a rough week for offense, unless you had a Meadows or a McCarthy kind of guy available. It was kind of a grab bag week of offense to go with. A week there was a lot of pitching to bid on.
Yeah, that's right.
I kind of think that's all I had to talk about. Is there anybody else that's on your mind? Anybody else that you want to talk about? Anybody else?
Penta Edeghetti was another guy that I found available sometimes in 12s. I picked him up in one of them.
He's third in majors with strikeouts since July 1st with 54. He's been really good lately.
13 this weekend against the Red Sox.
Yeah.
That's the part too. It's like, oh, you have my attention, sir. Set a career high the previous with 12. Nope, it's 13 now.
Yeah, if Edeghetti was available in a 12-teamer, he would have been top of my list for sure. He's that's one that's got to be picked up for sure.
Yeah. That caught my eye.
We've had a fun group of young pitchers since the summer here. Hunter Brown's been great since the middle of May. I know everybody loved him in March, and then he was awful for a while. 2.34 ERA since May 20th. Like that's huge right there. Spencer Schwellenbach in Atlanta, 2.5 ERA his last 5 starts since July 1st before today. Pitched well again today in Colorado. The bullpen kind of blew it up later, but we've got some young arms that seem to be maybe figuring it out and kind of making themselves known right now.
Yeah, for sure. And the Braves needed Schwellenbach like they needed water.
Big time.
That was big for him to step up. They need other things, but he's been huge.
He has been. So cool. Well, that's kind of all I had. I think we covered a ton of stuff. I think that's kind of all I had. Anything else you want to mention?
No. I think we
not even a shout out to Steph Curry, great American hero.
Dude, that was so amazing. Yesterday was such a good Olympic day.
It was awesome.
You had the women's national team winning the soccer gold.
Yep.
You had Curry doing his thing. In between, you had the track and field. The women's 4x400 was insane.
I've never seen a race won by that. It was incredible. I can forget her name. The second leg, like
Sydney, Sydney
McLaughlin. Yeah, the one that won the 400 hurdles.
Third name now. But
she got the baton. She got the baton even, and then like they couldn't even keep two teams on the screen by the time she passed again.
Yeah. It went from like a 2-second lead to a 30-second lead. It was crazy. It was awesome. It was just so awesome.
That basketball game, like they were down to a 3-point lead, and they had not gotten a good shot for like 4 minutes. Like France's defense was just swarming. Yeah. And Steph, I mean, if he doesn't make the one up 3, I think France comes down and scores. And who knows what happened? I mean, he shut that game down. The fact he made 4 in a row was just insane. And all of them were like, he had to kind of create that shot. It wasn't like the third one was wide open, but he still had to pump
the last one was sick. The last one was just nuts. Oh my gosh.
If you get a chance, there's a clip of all the other country announcers announcing some of that.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll check that out.
The French announcers are just so disgusted that all of them go in. It's
so the bench reactions were amazing on those 4. I saw that clip going around on Twitter.
Multi-time all-stars, top 100 players ever, like freaking out on the bench. It's just an amazing level. But yeah,
Wemby, by the way, is going to be a real problem.
Oh my God, is he good? He is unbelievable, and he had 24, whatever he had yesterday, and that Yabusele guy was balling. That guy dunked on LeBron. That dude can play.
Yeah, absolutely. And just defensively, that's why the U.S. had struggled to get good shots, because they always had to be aware of where he is. Yeah. And that's why he's just going to be, as he gets better and better and his shot gets better. Yeah. Oh boy, look out.
And by the way, LeBron doing this at 40 is truly impossible. It is unbelievable. He's been in the league. It's not like a regular 40. He's been in the NBA for 20 years. Like he's been beat up. It's crazy. He's
say what you will about him. I know he has his haters, but he's pretty dang patriotic for doing, he's done a lot for the Olympic side, U.S. Olympic basketball.
Say what you want. Taking a summer away from your family when you're 40 it takes a commitment, and he fully commits to it. But man, seeing Steph, KD, and LeBron play together for one time it was really special. It was fun.
It was nuts. And this is a team that couldn't find minutes for Tatum and Halliburton, and it was justifiable. I mean, that's the funny thing.
Studs. Like coaching a team like that is impossible. I know Kerr's going to take some heat from Celtics fans and Bob Cousy or whoever out there, but like the Celtics thing was silly because like Drew Holiday played the 4th most minutes in that game or whatever they were talking. It was.
I didn't even see the Cousy thing. I'm glad I didn't. But
it's very very Simpsons mean, yelling at clouds, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, by the way, if I'm the Celtics, and as the Pacers fan, I'm happy that Halliburton didn't play that much because he gets hurt. He got hurt in the playoffs. I'm happy.
Do you see his Instagram post?
I heard it was awesome.
He said essentially when you don't do anything on the group project but still get an A, it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is great.
The fact you can lean into a little bit. I mean, you're the 12th best player on that team. Like that's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, you're partying in Paris. It's great.
Yeah, for sure. So want to thank everybody for listening. Thank everybody for everybody who was in the chat. We had a lot of comments today. It was really, really fun. So
hot fire.
That. Yeah, it was great. Well, thanks DraftKings Pick 6 for the sponsorship of the podcast. You want to follow Jeff on Twitter. He's at Jeff_Erickson. I am at Scott Jenstad. I promise now no more Steph Curry tweets for a little bit. I know there were a few of them over the weekend, but want to thank everybody for listening. Always a lot of fun to do this and talk baseball with everybody. We'll be back next Sunday night talking more baseball. Hope you guys have a really good week. Good luck moving up those standings and take care.